Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Speaking from Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Leela, chapter 5, text 67. So, Aganya Ananta Yata Anda Sanivesha Tatarupe Purusha Kare Sabate Prakasha. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shilpa Prabhupada. The Purush enters each and every one of the countless universes. He manifests himself in as many separate forms as they are universes. So the Purush, now just now we said there's only one Purush, right? So that's the Purush, that's the Supreme Lord. He's entering into each and every atom of the universe. He's entering into every universe. So Mahavishnu, he lies down and he creates so many universe. Then he again enters into every universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And Purusha Nasate Yabi Bahiraya Shwasa Nishvasa Sahite Haya Brahmanda Prakasha. When the Purusha exhales, the universes are manifested with its each outward breath. So this Purush that is being spoken here is the Karana Dakshai Vishnu. This Karana Dakshai Vishnu, Garbha Dakshai Vishnu, Shira Dakshai Vishnu. They are the Purush avatar of Lord Krishna. By them, this entire material cosmic manifestation is being produced, maintained, and annihilated. So Mahavishnu, when he breathes out, all the universes are coming from his pores of his body. Punarapi Shwasa Yabe Praveshe Antare Shwasa Saha Brahmanda Paise Purusha Sharire. Thereafter, when he inhales, all the universes again enter his body. So we read this more in detail in Bhagavatam. How when Mahavishnu, he breathes out, all the universes are coming from the pores of his body. And now when he's breathing in, what's happening? All the universes which are manifest, they enter within his body and they lie in the unmanifested state. Everything is sleeping inside his body. In his form as Karana Dakshai Vishnu, the Lord impregnates material nature by his glands. That's how the creation happens. No? That Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, he looks at material energy. He looks at her, the material nature, just by his glance. All the activity begins. And then from the most subtle to the most gross, everything becomes manifest. So the most subtle is the Mahatattva, the false ego, which is, it is consciousness, but it has a tinge of passion. So it's not pure consciousness, because pure consciousness means spiritual, right? So this is almost pure, but it has a tinge of passion. Then by that interaction, the false ego is created. Then, so we see Mahatattva as the most subtle, then false ego, then the mind. So how from the most subtle to the most gross? But all these ingredients are there in the material nature. Krishna has already provided her with his ingredients. And then when he looks at her, the whole creation begins. The transcendental, we read this more in detail in Bhagavatam. Second canto specifically deals a lot with this. The transcendental molecules of that glance are particles of spirit or spiritual atoms, which appear in different species of life according to the seeds of their individual karma from the previous cosmic manifestation. So what happens when Mahavishnu is looking at material energy? Through his glance, we are the spirit particles of spirit or spiritual atoms. We are put inside this material world at that moment. And then whatever desires we have had, based on our desire and based on the karma that we are supposed to go through, we get varieties of bodies. So this is from the previous cosmic manifestation. So what happens is Mahavishnu, he's lying down. When he breathes out, the universes are created. We living entities are put in there. Then we act according to whatever desire we have and karma we have. Then when Mahavishnu breathes in, everything goes inside his body, and everything and everyone is sleeping in his body. But when we are sleeping, it is, we are not, our consciousness is still individual. Each and every one, our consciousness, at no point can it get mixed up with another person's consciousness. No, the consciousness always remains. Then now, because we are not yet liberated, this is all in the material world. It's just showing that how the material world is manifested and highlighted, created and destroyed. So then everything is quiet inside his body. Then again, when he breathes out, again, the universes are manifested. We are again put in there. And then based on our desire and karma, what we had in the previous manifestation, we start acting on that again, and we get suitable bodies. So, and the Lord himself, by his partial representation, creates a body of innumerable universes and again enters each of those universes as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So Mahavishnu, he expands. Mahavishnu, from whose body all these universes are coming out, he expands and enters into every universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. His coming in contact with Maya is explained in the Bhagavad Gita by a comparison between air and the sky. The sky enters everything material, yet it is far away from us. So space, everything requires space, right? Sky means the space, ether, the ether. So everything, even a tiny atom, is requiring space, but it does not mean that the atom and space mix in together. No, it's a different material. So the example is giving that air is in the sky. The air is in the sky, but the air is different and the sky is different. They don't mix together. The air, for example, when the air blows through the good aromas and the bad aromas. So the air will take the aroma, but the air does not become those things. Right? Never in a time is it going to become anything. So that's the way. So the sky, the space, because sky is more subtle than air. Space is more subtle. Although everything requires space, yet space is space and the thing is the thing. It's different. So even though the Supreme Lord enters into the universe, because he's spiritual, he continues to remain spiritual. He's not touched by anything material. So we can try to understand that false ego is a material thing, but because it's so subtle, we can't even see it. We can't even, because it's so subtle, right? As subtle as things go, then it can't be seen. So spirit is even more subtle, even more subtle. Okay. So then, Gavakshera randreyena atra sarenu chale purushera loma kupe brahmandera jale. Just as atomic particles of dust pass through the openings of a window, so the networks of universes pass through the pores of the skin of the Purusha. So when we have a window and sunlight is passing through it, we can see, the tiny, tiny particles of dust. That is, we can see those tiny dust particles flowing. So that analogy is given. For us, this whole entire Earth planet is so big. It's so big. So here, the universes are compared to particles of dust. So we can try to imagine the size of Mahavishnu, where in with each universe, there are millions and gazillions of planets there. So then, reading on. Yasyaikan Nishvasita kalam athavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagat andanathaha Vishnur mahansa iha yasya kala vishesho govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. The Brahmas and other lords of mundane worlds appear from the pores of Mahavishnu and remain alive for the duration of his one exhalation. I adore the premeable Lord Govinda, of whom Mahavishnu is a portion of a plenary portion. So Lord Brahma, in his prayers called Brahma Samhita, this verse is from there, 548. This description of the Lord's creative energy is from the Brahma Samhita 548, which Lord Brahma compiled after his personal realization. So after Brahmaji got self-realized, he could see the spiritual world, then he spoke these beautiful prayers called Brahma Samhita. And in this particular verse, he is explaining how Mahavishnu, how from the breathing out of Mahavishnu, all these universes are coming out. And then all these universes are coming out, the whole creation is happening, and each universe has its own Brahma, right? Each universe has its own Brahma. So he's saying, Brahmaji in this verse is trying to show us the power of Mahavishnu. And who is he? He is a portion of a plenary portion of Govinda. Mahavishnu is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of Krishna. So portion of a plenary portion of Lord Govinda, whom Lord Brahmaji, he adores him. And Govinda, he's the original personality of Godhead from whom everything is emanating. So when Mahavishnu exhales, the spiritual seeds of the universe emanates from him in the form of molecular particles like those that are visible 3 times the size of an atom when sunlight is diffused through a small hole. In these days of atomic research, it will be worthwhile engagement for atomic scientists to learn from this statement how the entire creation develops from the spiritual atoms emanating from the body of the Lord. So this is how the creation of the universes are coming from the body of the Supreme Lord. This is also from Brahma Samhita. Kwaham tamo mahad aham kha charagni varbhu sam veshti nanda gata sapta vitasti kayaha kvedrik viddhai viganti ganitanda paranucharya vatadva roma bibarasya chate mahitvam. Where am I, a small creature of 7 spans of the measure of my own hand? I'm enclosed in the universe, composed of material nature, the total material energy, false ego, ether, air, water, and earth. And what is your glory? Unlimited universes pass through the pores of your body, just like particles of dust passing through the opening of a window. So as Prabhupada was saying, if a scientist, atomic scientist, they want to understand how this material creation, the universes become manifest, they can learn from the scriptures. So when Lord Brahma, after having stolen all Krishna's calves and cowherd boys, returned and saw that the calves and boys were still roaming with Krishna, he offered this prayer, Bhagavatam 10:14-11, in his defeat. So this is coming from Srimad Bhagavatam in Brahma Vimohan Leela, because Brahmaji was saying, how can this small boy be God, you know? He's here playing with his friends, eating his friends' juta. And what are they doing? You know, running around with the cows in the forest, playing the fool. How can this be God? This is not God. So what he does, he steals Krishna's friends and cows and hides them in the cave. But when he comes to the spot, he sees that there are, again, all these boys and calves are here with Krishna. What's happening? So instead of putting Krishna in illusion, he himself came in illusion. And he saw that all these cows and cowherd boys, Krishna showed them, they're all Vishnu forms. And then he showed that all these Vishnu forms are coming into the body of Krishna, and that from Krishna, all these Vishnu forms are expanding. Then Lord Brahma understood, oh my God, this is the Supreme Lord. This is my Lord, even though he's appearing as a small boy, as a small cowherd boy playing the fool, eating yogurt, rice, and all. What is he doing? First, Brahma said, how can he be God? But when Krishna showed him, he was like, oh my God, yes, you are my Supreme Lord. And he offers these wonderful prayers in the glorification, in glorification of Lord Krishna. So a conditioned soul, even one so great as Brahma, who manages the affairs of the entire universe, cannot compare to the personality of Godhead, for he can produce numberless universes simply by the spiritual rays emanating from the pores of his body. So Brahmaji is the greatest personality in this universe. He's the greatest personality. He's giving shapes to all of our bodies, making sure everything's working properly in an order, deciding which planet should go where. So his intelligence is uncomparable to any of us here in this material world. But even his intelligence cannot compare to the personality of Godhead, because he's saying that these universes are coming out like dust comes through the window, particles of dust, like that. These universes are coming out. So material scientists should take lessons from the utterances of Sri Brahma regarding our insignificance in comparison to God. In these prayers of Brahma, there is much to learn for those who are falsely puffed up by the accumulation of power. So at no point can a soul be compared to God. This is what we have to try to understand. So we'll stop here for today. Are there any comments or questions?
Telling us, though here still they are telling us about the Balaramjis, right? This is all that.
Yeah, the glories of Lord Balaram Nityananda.
Okay.
Because the Purusha, Mahavishnu, he is an expansion of the expansion of Balaramji, right? Mahasankarshan. Yeah, so this is all glories of Balaramji.
Okay.
So who's Balaramji? He's the first expansion of Krishna.
Yes.
So yeah. So we'll stop here. Shri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.